Today, we welcome special guest Justin Allentoff. He's a right-handed pitcher for the Israel national team. This spring, he'll play for the Long Island Ducks, where it will be his third season with the Ducks, but first time in the starting rotation, so congratulations. He pitched collegiately at the University of Florida and played for the New York Boulders in the Frontier League before going to the Ducks. Justin also played in the European Championship in 2023 for Israel and Czech Republic, and will again this fall in 2025 in the Netherlands. Justin, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
Absolutely. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Justin, thank you for being here, man. I think, you know, my first question for you is this, what has this baseball journey been like for you? I mean, you're very successful, very young, in your own right, just, with everything that you've done to this point and representing Israel and playing in the Frontier League and just your whole journey. Like how has this been for you?
Yeah, baseball's been really good to me. I mean, there's been a ton of ups and downs, a ton of tough conversations. And, you say blood, sweat, and tears as a cliche, but that's absolutely something that I would put to my career. That is something that I, have put into it. I've been playing baseball as long as I can remember. I went to 4 colleges. So I've made a ton of friends along the way, had a ton of, interesting classes and new experiences. And like you said, I've been fortunate to represent Team Israel on the national stage, which has been a real blessing, and had some great memories with the Long Island Ducks as well. And, excited to continue with them. So baseball has been really, really good to me. I'm very blessed. I'm very fortunate, but it has been a challenge, and it's definitely been a winding road for sure. So it's something that I've appreciated. I don't take for granted, and I'm thankful for the journey that I've had thus far.
Yeah, baseball is one of those games, it's a game of failure, and along the way, there's going to be bumps and bruises, but it's all about how you respond. And obviously, you responded very well since you're very decorated as a player. So, my follow-up question to that, back in college, how did you have to change your mindset? Because, you said 4 schools. So I'm sure it was not easy each year with a different scenery around you.
Yeah, it's something where you go from high school to college, and towards the end of high school where I was trying to get recruited, realizing I was going to play college baseball, it kind of became a job a little bit, but I want to classify it as it's becoming a job to it is a job. So once I got to college, you have a full itinerary of we have practice, lifting, team meetings, bullpen sessions, mandatory tutoring. So all these kinds of things that are now in your day that weren't in your day in high school. And so once I got to college, there's a lot of my friends who were like, you know what, this is just not for me, and decided to stop playing or, just became students. But that never really crossed my mind. I've always loved baseball. I love playing baseball. I love pitching. But it was something where I finally kind of realized, like, okay, this is your life when you're in college. I wasn't in a fraternity. I didn't get to join any clubs. I didn't have a spring break. So that became my life. And, it's something that all baseball players kind of understand. But, if you want to put that level of dedication and you just have to go into it understanding that this is what it's going to take. And so I knew that from the get-go. And, like you said, moving all those schools was also something where, I had to have some tough conversations with my parents, with my advisor at the time.
Mhm.
I had friends at certain schools, and now, I'm leaving, and then I make more friends and get acclimated, and I'm leaving again. So it was definitely a challenge, but one that I'm thankful for.
Yeah, I think this is such an interesting story to me because to play at this point, to play at this level that you're at, there has to be a lot of sacrifice. And it's clear that you've made a lot of sacrifice, all for the greater good, which is amazing, which is commendable. And so, kind of staying on that topic a little bit, what has that adjustment been like for you from pitching in college ball and then going to pro ball? What is that difference like? I know that there's so many different things that entail in a day.
Even that's a huge adjustment. You raise an excellent point that you go from college to professional baseball. And, even one of the things like losing a game, in college, when we lost the game at Florida, it was like a problem. Like, guys, it would be a big, big deal. And, in professional baseball, you lose a game. So, all right, we got them tomorrow. Let's go. Like, what are you going to do about it? So what? Just because you have so many more games. So we play 6 games a week. I think we get up to 130 or so games. Obviously we want to win each game, but it's something that you have to compartmentalize, and you can't, panic or freak out. We don't have the same level of, I guess, coach overbearingness in professional baseball, because they kind of realize, like, you guys have been through that experience and you know how to handle your business now. But the locker room has been really great. I mean, I've played with a ton of former major leaguers that have all lent a helping hand. They've all been wonderful people, great players. Guys like, Daniel Murphy, Wilson Ramos, Sam Travis, Boog Powell, Alejandro De Aza, Ruben Tejada, all great guys, all teammates, all friends of mine. And so it's been really cool to get to watch them go about their business and kind of learn a little bit about how I should conduct mine. And again, that's been a blessing as well because it's been a really cool experience.
That sounds really cool. Getting to play with, MLB guys like that. You can't replicate that anywhere else. And kind of jumps me into my next question. So all those names there and your whole baseball career with Israel, what is your most memorable experience in professional baseball?
I can tell you my most memorable experience with Israel baseball was standing on the line, standing across from Team Germany in Czech Republic, a game that I was starting, to look across and see Team Germany standing for Hatikva. I understood the significance of that, especially in a country that was occupied by Nazis in the 40s, where it was illegal to be Jewish. And now we saw Team Germany and Team Israel standing in unison for the Israeli anthem. And I realized that was a pretty significant moment and something that I won't forget anytime soon. And then with the Ducks in professional baseball, I've had a few moments that I've really enjoyed. I mean, we popped champagne when we clinched the playoffs in Southern Maryland in 2023. And my first save was a really cool moment. I struck out the side. I wasn't expecting to go in, and they called down and told me I was coming in for a save situation. I was like, what the heck? And came in, had a great outing. So that was a lot of fun too. A lot of guys were really excited for me about that as well.
That's so fun. That's just awesome. I just love these stories. Like they're such like good, like feel good stories. And
Right.
man, it's just so kind of looking at everything from a whole, right? What does it mean being a Jewish baseball player to you? You just mentioned, standing across from Team Germany and
Yeah.
having them stand up for the Tikva, which is incredible. What does it mean to you when you have Israel across your chest in the Star of David? What does that mean?
I'm going to be honest with you, and it's going to sound cliche, but it means everything. I mean, as
Yeah.
somebody who's, proud to be Jewish, it's so rare. I've had a few Jewish teammates in my life. I mean, I can probably list them on a hand, but, and then you play for Team Israel and everyone's Jewish, and there's really nothing like that in the world. But, being with the Ducks, we've had a couple of Jewish players come through, but guys will ask me questions, whether it's about the Israel-Gaza conflict or about matzah, or there was a show on Netflix, Nobody Wants This. Guys were asking me, what does this mean? What does that mean? And so it's been fun to have some of those conversations. And, I've really enjoyed it, especially being on Long Island, where there's a pretty strong Jewish population too. But, just being in the locker room and, guys know I'm Jewish, and, so they'll ask me questions, we'll have conversations, and it's been a lot of fun for sure.
I think, the one thing that Miles and I have seen in common is when we ask guys, what does it mean to be Jewish? And not only is it everything, but so they haven't really faced any anti-Semitism from their teammates or from their organizations outside of obviously Israel baseball, which is honestly really comforting to hear and kind of restores my faith a little bit that people don't just go with the flow and just aren't making assumptions. They ask, they're interested. And to me, that really brings me joy to hear. And I guess, going into my next question, looking back, put yourself in a kid's shoes today who's, Jewish, maybe a little timid or afraid to really come forth and be Jewish. What would your advice be to them?
I would say to seek comforting situations at first. If you're a little bit skeptical of maybe anti-Semitism, find the people who are going to have your back. And then you can kind of build strength in numbers through that. If you take on a herd and you're one person, some people can put their foot in the ground and stand tall. Other people get a little more timid, a little more afraid, like you mentioned. And so I would say find some people that are like-minded, that agree with you, that will support you and have your back. And then from there, you can kind of grow your circle and branch out. Not everyone's going to agree with you. Not everyone's going to like you. Some people may not like you because you're Jewish or because I wear Israel on my shirt. I know that that's something that some people just will immediately don't know me, will immediately not like me. And that's okay. If they want to have hate in their heart, if they want to judge somebody before meeting them, then, I can't stop them. So what I would tell that kid is to find people who are going to respect and value you as a person, as a Jew, as a player, and then kind of build that network from there, and to realize that most people truly don't care. And that's a good thing. Most people aren't going to sit there and judge you. Most people aren't going to make anti-Semitic comments. I'm very fortunate. I've dealt with very, very little anti-Semitism in my life. I'm very thankful. But the vast majority of people aren't hate-filled. At least this is my view. Maybe I'm wrong. But I feel like most people have respect, have kindness. And so if you live afraid, you won't get to see that. And so my goal or my advice would be to just find that circle, of friends, of people who you can trust, and kind of branch out from there. And once you branch out, you'll realize, oh my gosh, these people are all great people. There's people who have disagreed with me in the past. about Israel, baseball, about, even being Jewish. And, there's going to be people who don't like us. That's, it's how it's been for all of Jewish history, right? So, it's up to us to kind of educate and lead with kindness and bring light and spread light and love. And that's all that we can really do.
Yeah, so you actually answered one of my questions in terms of, what kind of anti-Semitism you faced. And so I think sort of just building off of that a bit, is there anything, because I love, as I'm talking to all of you, as I'm getting to know all of you within Team Israel Baseball, it's just been incredible. And I know that there's a kind of common question I'm asking, like, where do you want to see this in the next like 5 years, or where do you want to see yourself in terms of Team Israel Baseball? You're young, you're balling out right now, you're in the rotation. It's awesome. I'm gonna keep an eye on you. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So like, where do you want everything to go in terms of Team Israel Baseball? How much do you want to be involved going forward? Where's your heart at?
I love Israel baseball. I love all the people there. They've been a huge blessing in my life. I'm extremely grateful for truly all of them. It's really cliche when you say, oh, we're a family, it's a family, but it is. It totally is. I mean, I could rattle off all these guys' names, but they've all got a place in my heart. I've loved playing with them. I've loved getting to know all of them. And even the higher ups, general manager, president, managers, all wonderful, amazing people. And it's been a real joy to not only play for Team Israel, but to get to represent, what we stand for and who we are, and get to meet them and create relationships with them that'll probably last for the rest of my life, to tell you the truth. In terms of where I think Israel baseball should go, I just like to see it continue to grow. I'd like to see it reach more players, reach more people, reach more fans, reach more people in Israel and the US, all over the world, because, they chalked it up to the Jamaican bobsled team, which, the world kind of rallied around. But we're trying to create something that's a lasting thing in Israel, which is, opportunities for these kids to play baseball. And, right now, I think there are 2 fields in the country. Obviously, they have some other things to take care of first and worry about. But, once the war ends, once we hopefully finally have peace, want to see it continue to grow. And it's on a great trajectory. It's in great hands. And I know that there's a spark there amongst Israeli kids, Jewish kids. I've helped at some of the Jewish or Israeli baseball camps down here in South Florida, and you can just see that people are excited to play for Israel baseball. They want to wear Israel baseball gear and take the field and be with other Jewish teammates. And so there's definitely the perfect storm in order to grow Israel baseball. And, I'm excited to see what the future holds.
I think Miles and I are too, and we're really excited for the World Baseball Classic and the Euros this year. And leading into my next question, back to more of, the baseball side, is what does a day in the life of Justin Allentoff look like? Training? Like, what does that look like for someone from the outside?
Yeah, so in season, it's going to be different for me. As a starter, I'll know, okay, I'm pitching on Tuesday, and today will be Thursday. So I have a plan in place to kind of build up to Tuesday. Last year, as a reliever, it was weird because if I pitched on a Wednesday, right, and maybe I threw an inning and 2/3, okay, and I had a good outing, I could be available for the following game. So I didn't want to push it too hard in the gym because I might have to pitch that night. So it was kind of a balancing act of judging whether I think I would be hot that game, judging whether I think I would pitch or not pitch, or, balancing, okay, I threw 35 pitches yesterday. I can go to the gym today. They probably won't pitch me tonight. So it was kind of a little bit of a chess match, almost a mental chess match, to kind of determine how I should approach today to get ready for tomorrow, or, what I did yesterday for today. But now that I'm going to be a starter, I'll have a full plan in place to kind of follow, which is nice. I get to look forward to it, because in some of those chess matches, I guessed wrong. And there were days where, I would go crazy in the gym, thinking I wouldn't pitch tonight. And I hear Allentoff get going, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm pitching tonight. So, or I tell my parents, hey, I probably won't pitch today. And then my dad will call me after the game and says, what the heck? You threw 3 innings tonight. It was interesting. It was fun. It kept me on my toes. There were games I'd drink an energy drink and then not pitch. There were games I'd leave an energy drink at home and they tell me to get hot. So it was fun. It kept me on my toes, but I'm excited for a little more stability.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's just the life of a reliever right there. MLB all the time, but hearing it from you firsthand is really funny, and
oh yeah,
kind of, makes me. I should lost my train of thought there, but it's funny how you say
you'd hear from our pitching coach or our manager, get hot now. They go mound visit, you're getting hot, come off the mound, double play. It's like, sit down. And I'm like, okay. And I'm out there, let's go, we gotta go. Because he gives up a base hit, he gives up a double, I'm in the game. So I would hear a bunch of times like, hey, he's got 2 hitters. One hitter gets a base hit, they're going nuts. I gotta go. Next hitter, double play. I'm like, well, never mind. And then, so, it was fun. Keeps you on your toes. It's exciting, because sometimes you have a minute to warm up, 2 minutes to warm up. If you're lucky, you'll have an inning. I mean, there are times where guys would be in the locker room going to get like a snack or a drink. We'd have to sprint up there, like, you got to get going, so there's some crazy stuff that goes down in bullpen world, but I'm excited to be in starter world this year.
Great. That is great. And it's just so interesting. I'm looking at your baseball reference page right now. It's just awesome looking at your numbers, man. You were balling. But like between pitching in Florida and like your independent ball career, your pro career, what's like the biggest crowd that you've played in front of?
I don't know the exact number, but one of the coolest experiences I had was in the fall at University of Florida. We play the Friday night in Jacksonville against University of Georgia before the Saturday game, which was the Florida-Georgia football game in Jacksonville. And so half of that, we play the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp Stadium. Half that stadium is blue and orange. The other half is black and red. And so it was pretty fun to hear the fighting chants, go Gators, and the barking, so that was a lot of fun. So that was probably 9,000. And then with the Ducks, 8,500. So, somewhere around there. There was one outing where it was one of my first outings with the Ducks, and I took the mound, and the catcher came out like, hey, what pitches do you want to throw here? And they must have done something on the board. I couldn't see it. My back was turned, where they must have done like a make noise thing, because I literally said, you got to wait. I can't hear you. Like, I literally have no idea what you're saying. So that was kind of crazy to be pitcher to catcher, and I genuinely couldn't hear him. So the umpire came out. He's like, we got to go. I was like, I couldn't hear him. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I literally cannot hear him. So we got a couple more seconds to buy some time there. But so that was a cool experience. So definitely played in front of some crowds that included my dad and my neighbor and some friends and a couple of opposing parents, and played in front of crowds where my dad was sitting in the front row. And I'm like, I couldn't even find you. So I've kind of done it all. I played high level D1, mid-major D1, Division II, JUCO, indie ball, international. So I've kind of seen the small crowd, the big crowd, everything in between.
You're immersed. You are immersed within the game.
Oh yeah.
And I think my last big question, sticking with like sort of the baseball technique. So for kids listening, for people who may not understand, how different is it pitching against a college hitter compared to a professional hitter?
I think there's a different level of nuance. It depends what college I was at, right? So when I was at UF, there was a pretty high level of nuance. There was a level of understanding. Okay, we know how to attack this guy. We're using Synergy, which is a platform that can kind of tell you any at bat, any sequence for that hitter. And so, I relied on Kevin O'Sullivan, some of the pitching guys, to kind of handle the sequencing and calling the games. At the professional level, I was very fortunate to have, for the most part, catcher by the name of Chance Sisco, who's been a good friend of mine. He's got major league experience with the Orioles and the Mets, extremely cerebral catcher who was able to call games very effectively. And he always had a reason for calling something, to where, he would call, let's say, fastball outside, and I'd shake it and he'd call it again. I'm like, okay, like there's a reason to the method to the madness. And, he would sit down in the dugout with me and kind of explain certain things. And, I was able to piggyback with some other pitchers and, get a feel and an understanding for why we're going to pitch the way we're going to pitch. But it's definitely gotten more cerebral as I've gone on. As I was younger, fastball, hit it, and now it's kind of like we got to set a hitter up. We got to work on some tunneling. We got to, the plate, Wally Backman was teaching me that the plate expands and contracts from a hitter's perspective and a pitcher's perspective. Oh, here's your strike zone. 0-1, it shrinks for the pitcher, because I know that the hitter is going to look to not get to an 0-2 hole. But if it's 0-2, the hitter has a bigger zone because they have to protect, because they don't want to strike out. So now I have a bigger zone to work with where I could get a chase. So it's things like that I never even considered that, is a vital part of the game.
That's awesome. And it's also cool that you just mentioned that you had a conversation with Wally.
Yeah. He was our manager in 2023. He was a great guy. All the players loved him, and really, really cool to play for him as well.
It's awesome. I'm a big fan of Wally's.
Yeah, Wally's great. I mean, just another quick story I could share. I was pitching to York, and York Revolution is the team name. And I threw an 0-2 quick pitch, fastball outside, gave up a base hit to left field. I come into the dugout, and Daniel Murphy said, why throw a fastball there? I was like, to be honest with you, I was trying to beat him to it. I don't really know. Like, I was just trying to go fastball outside, just beat him to the punch. And so Daniel Murphy told me, if I'm 0-2, I'm already in swing mode. I'm not trying to strike out. If I see that you're going to go quick pitch, I'm swinging no matter what. So you threw the pitch, fastball outside. That is the easiest to get to. If you're going to do that, go off speed away because he's in swing mode. 0-2, you have that expanded zone anyway, and you're going to force him to swing because you're going to quick pitch and beat him to the punch. Go fastball inside because it's tougher to get to. You have less time, or off speed. I was like, oh my gosh, is it this nuanced? Like, is it this like intricate? I was like, thanks, Murph. But my goodness. So that's something that I remembered. And, a guy like that to be able to share some of his baseball knowledge was also really cool.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Getting knowledge like that you can't replicate that anywhere else.
Right.
And I think that kind of leads into one of my last questions for you is Euros 2025. What are your what are your expectations for yourself and Team Israel? And, what are you hoping to see from your teammates as well?
I think putting an expectation kind of puts it in a box. So if I say I expect to win, we go there, we come in second, which would be great for Team Israel to get all those points. We would view that as a failure. I want to win. I hope we win. We're going to play good baseball. But what I want to do is play our brand of baseball, right? I want everyone to have success, everyone to do well. I hope that we win. We got a tough bracket, but that's something that we embrace and are expecting and looking forward to that kind of a challenge. But I think that we're going there to win it. We're going there to win it. We're going there to play our brand of baseball, like I said. And, I know all the guys have had it circled on their calendar for some time, myself included. And, I'm really excited. It's been the last time I wore an Israel jersey was before October 7th. And I know that the significance of that is, to me, the same, but to the world, it's a much more intense of a situation, I would say. And, it's something that I don't take for granted. I've never taken for granted, but now I know the importance of, having a Star of David on your hat and an Israel on your chest. So, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited. Obviously, you get to see a new part of the world, which is an amazing thing too. But, I'm looking forward to seeing all those guys. And, hopefully we come out with the expectation that we set, which hopefully we can win it all. But, like I said, I try not to put an expectation on things. Hopefully we can go there and just play our brand of baseball, have fun, and come home winners. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I'm going to ask you one more question now.
Please do.
It's so October 7th, obviously. And you just brought it up. It's the first time that any of you are going to be putting on that jersey after October 7th. Yep. What do you think the energy levels are going to be like in that locker room and even on the field when you're playing? Because again, like you said, it's not business as usual, I think, anymore.
Right.
I think
I'm going to be honest with you, and this is not an answer that an interviewer would want to hear. I don't know. There's no way to know. I mean, I don't know how October 7th, if you took a group of Jewish people, a group of people in general, October 7th for some people for everyone, it's devastating, right? But everyone internalizes it a little differently. For me, I think about Israel, to tell you the truth, every day. Every single day, I'll check my Twitter. I'll see something about Israel, talk to my parents, talk to a friend, see something on the news, read about something, call a friend of mine from Israel every single day. Some people are a little more disassociated, which is a way of, compartmentalizing that situation. I don't know how it's going to be. I know that it's going to be emotional. It was emotional for me in September of 2023. As I mentioned, that Hatikva with Team Germany, that to me was a moment where I was like, this is, a pretty moving and serious situation. Now that it's post October 7th, I know it'll be heightened emotionality. I'm excited to kind of be with the group of people that is that family that I mentioned. When I think about Team Israel, I'm now with all these guys. I don't know how it's going to be. I know that we're all excited to play ball. We're all ball players. But, in terms of everything post October 7th, it's the world for Jewish baseball players, for Team Israel baseball players has completely changed. And so, I'm optimistic and hopeful, but I'm also curious to see how that energy kind of is, not only from our locker room, but from opposing teams as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great answer and honest answer, which I think is said it all. So, thank you for coming on. Thank you for answering all of our questions. And, we would love to have you on again as time gets closer and to the Euros and even throughout your Duck season, because you just gained 2 huge fans. And
I appreciate that.
I'm going to do all I can to get to a game because I want to go back to that stadium, and especially when you're starting. So I'm going to, now that you're starting, you'll know. So I can text you and say, hey, you starting today? You're going to say, yeah. I'll be like, all right, cool. I'll be there.
Please do. Please do. Let me know anytime. Would love to see either of you guys, whether it's in Long Island or anywhere else. It's great that we have people that support what we're doing as Jewish baseball players, Team Israel. And, what you guys do is important. It's something to spread the word, create that togetherness. And so thank you guys for having me on. And, like you mentioned, whenever you need me, you got me. So let me know anytime.
Good man, Justin. Thank you.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.